Under the bright, flashing lights of Hollywood's biggest night, something unexpected happened, something no one saw coming. Cameras turned, microphones were raised, and for the first time, Sam Heughan didn't hide behind his charming smile or polite laughter. When asked the simple question, "Are you in love?" he paused, looked straight ahead, and said words that sent shockwaves across the internet. "Yes, I am, and she knows it." The crowd froze. Reporters stared. Within seconds, social media exploded. #Sam and Dakota trended globally, with millions of fans questioning, speculating, celebrating, and some completely losing their minds. Could this be real? Was Sam Heughan, the beloved Outlander star who had always kept his love life fiercely private, finally admitting his feelings for Dakota Johnson? Just hours earlier, the two had been spotted together at a private afterparty following a film festival in Los Angeles. They weren't exactly hiding, but they weren't posing for cameras either. Still, the chemistry between them was impossible to ignore. Sam, ever the gentleman, was seen leaning in to speak to Dakota, his hand subtly resting near hers on the table. And when she laughed, a soft, genuine laugh, it was like the world paused for a moment. Those who witnessed it said it wasn't just casual banter. It was connection, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken out loud. For years, fans had speculated about Sam's love life. From rumors linking him to his Outlander co-star Katrina Balfe to whispers of secret romances in Europe, he'd managed to stay one step ahead of the tabloids. Dakota, on the other hand, had her own share of headlines: her long relationship with Coldplay's Chris Martin, her quiet grace amid fame, and her reputation for being a mystery wrapped. The thought of these two worlds colliding felt like a Hollywood fantasy. A source close to the event described the atmosphere that night. They weren't trying to hide, but they weren't showing off either. You could feel it though, this quiet comfort between them. When Sam looked at her, it was like everything else disappeared. That quote spread like wildfire. By morning, entertainment outlets from Los Angeles to London ran the same headline. Sam Heughan confirms his love for Dakota Johnson. But what no one knew was how this moment came to be. Because behind that confident confession was a man who had spent years searching for something real, a connection untainted by fame, distance, or expectation. Friends say Sam's life, though glamorous on the outside, had become lonely behind the curtain. He'd been open about the challenges of fame, the endless travel, the long nights on set, the blurred line between his on-screen romances and his real emotions. Every interview, every photo shoot, came with the same question: "Are you dating anyone?" And every time, he'd dodge it with a laugh. But something changed after he met Dakota. They first crossed paths at a private industry dinner in London over a year ago. It was supposed to be a quick handshake and polite chat, but Sam later admitted to a close friend that her presence felt like calm in a storm. Over the following months, their paths kept crossing, at charity events, press parties, and once, even at a quiet cafe in Edinburgh when Dakota was visiting the UK for a project. Every meeting seemed accidental, yet oddly inevitable. The connection grew, but quietly, almost protectively. They exchanged thoughtful messages, supported each other's projects, and developed an emotional understanding that both had been missing. Dakota, who had always been drawn to creative, emotionally intelligent men, found something in Sam's sincerity that reminded her of home. Sam, in turn, admired her depth, how she could be vulnerable and strong at the same time. Yet, both of them knew the cost of public love. They'd seen how easily affection could turn into headlines, and how fast the internet could twist a glance into a scandal. So, they stayed silent. Until that night. When Sam uttered those 6 simple words, "Yes, I am." And she knows it. It wasn't a PR stunt or a teasing remark. It was something more raw, more human. It was the moment he stopped hiding. Fans noticed the subtle reaction from Dakota when she was later asked about it on the red carpet. She smiled, a small, knowing smile, and said softly, "He's brave." No denial, no clarification, Just a hint of warmth that told the world there was more to the story than either of them was ready to say. As the night ended, Sam was spotted leaving the venue quietly. No entourage, no flashing cameras following too close. He looked relieved, almost lighter, like a man who had finally spoken his truth after years of silence. Behind that one confession lay a story that stretched far deeper than fans could imagine. A story of timing, fear, connection, and the price of honesty in a world built on appearances. And as headlines continued to explode across every platform, one question lingered in everyone's mind. Had Sam Heughan just risked it all, for love? The morning after Sam Heughan's confession, Hollywood woke up divided. Half the internet was celebrating a new romance between two of the industry's most admired stars, while the other half called it impossible. A fantasy created by the chaos of social media. But behind the noise, there was silence from both Sam and Dakota. No posts, no statements, no clarifications, just quiet. For Sam, that silence was everything. He'd said what he needed to say. After years of protecting his heart, after endless speculation about who he loved or didn't love, he had finally stopped running from his feelings. But now, he was facing the one thing fame never prepared him for: vulnerability. Friends close to Sam revealed that he hadn't planned to say those words. It wasn't scripted, not rehearsed, not even intended. It was a moment of truth that slipped through the cracks of years spent holding back. "He'd been under so much pressure," said a longtime colleague. "People forget he's human. That night, it just came out, and he didn't want to take it back." Behind closed doors, the confession hit Dakota differently. She'd been through this before: public scrutiny, rumors, the dissecting of every glance, every smile. She admired Sam's courage, but she also knew what came next. The headlines twisting their story, the endless speculation, the invasion of something sacred. Still, something in her heart softened. She remembered the first time Sam made her laugh. Not the polite kind of laughter people in Hollywood learn to fake, but the genuine, belly-deep kind that makes you forget where you are. She remembered the way he listened when she spoke about her fears, her creative frustrations, her need to stay grounded despite the chaos. He never interrupted, never offered cliché comfort. He just listened. That, she realized, was what made him different. In the weeks that followed, the world kept demanding answers. Paparazzi camped outside studios. Interviewers dropped loaded questions disguised as jokes. But Sam remained composed, calm, grounded, and unwavering. When asked again about Dakota, he simply said, "Some things don't need to be explained. They just need to be felt." That quote spread even faster than his confession. Fans swooned, journalists dissected, and every podcast dedicated to celebrity culture had something to say. But to those who knew Sam best, that line wasn't a riddle, it was a message. A quiet way of saying, yes, it's real, but it's ours. Meanwhile, Dakota took a different approach. She kept working, attending film shoots, smiling for cameras, but those who paid attention noticed subtle shifts. The lightness in her tone when Sam's name came up. The lingering pause when she was asked about love. The same pause she'd shown when speaking about things that mattered deeply to her. Then came the charity gala in London, a month after the viral moment. Both were on the guest list, though no one expected them to arrive together. But halfway through the evening, as flashes lit up the red carpet, they did. Not hand in hand, but side by side. Their eyes met briefly as photographers shouted their names, and for a moment, the noise faded into a kind of stillness that everyone could feel. Sam leaned slightly toward her, whispering something only she could hear. She smiled, just faintly, and for the cameras, it looked like a simple exchange between friends. But those close enough could sense the weight of that moment, the calm after a storm. An anonymous attendee later shared. "You could tell they understood each other. It wasn't some Hollywood stunt. It felt peaceful, like they'd already said everything they needed to say." By the end of the night, fans weren't talking about drama anymore. They were talking about connection. Not the noisy kind that burns bright and fades, but the quiet, steady one that survives the spotlight. As days turned into weeks, the frenzy slowly died down. There were no public declarations, no couple selfies, no official confirmations beyond that one sentence that started it all. Yet somehow, the mystery made their story even more powerful. It wasn't about validation, it was about vulnerability. In a podcast weeks later, Sam was asked if he regretted what he said that night. He paused for a long moment before answering. No, because sometimes, saying the truth isn't about changing anything, it's about setting yourself free. That single line summed up everything. It wasn't just a confession of love, it was a declaration of authenticity in an industry built on illusion. He didn't need labels, nor did Dakota. What mattered was that, in a world where so many hide behind filters and PR-approved statements, he chose to be real. The story of Sam Heughan and Dakota Johnson wasn't about a grand romance or a fairy tale ending. It was about courage. The courage to speak from the heart, to risk misunderstanding, and to let the world see the cracks in the armor. And though neither of them ever said another word about it, one truth lingered quietly in the air. Sometimes love doesn't need confirmation. Sometimes, the world already knows.